Amen. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in the hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were all nestled snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their head. What the heck is a sugar plum anyway? And why would a child be, no. But seriously, is it just a plum? Or is it like a candied, dried thing? Are they dreaming of like prunes, which you'd think maybe would be an older generation? Maybe some of us are dreaming of. Anyway, never mind. Christmas and dreaming go hand in hand, don't they? Just this week, I was waking up my youngest to go to school at, dark 100 hour, and she protested, and she said, "No, I don't want to wake up. I'm dreaming about Santa." Children at this time of the year spend a lot of time dreaming in hopes and anticipation of the great things that are to come, whether it's sugar plums or toys or, just having a couple of weeks off of school. Adults sometimes dream like that at Christmas time. Perhaps you've got an upcoming trip or people coming to visit, or you going somewhere that you're excited about and looking forward to. Adults dream at Christmas time too, though often I think adult dreams are dreams of reminiscing and longing. Think of songs, think of the classic World War II Bing Crosby song, "I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams," which was written from the viewpoint of a soldier serving, on the other end of the world and longing to be home for the holiday time. Or how about Bing Crosby's other classic, "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas," which is also, again, one of longing, just like the ones I used to know. Do you have a favorite childhood Christmas memory? Something that you go back to as Christmas time comes? Because it's these events, like Christmas, especially Christmas, but they're linked, aren't they? They're sort of like a little chain link through the years, and inevitably we think back to past Christmases. Christmases perhaps when your children were young, or when you were a child and something, maybe it's a Christmas Eve service, or maybe it's just a time when someone you loved was still there with you to celebrate that season. Adult Christmas dreams tend to be dreams of remembering and longing for something. I'm dreaming of you fill in the blank, Christmas. What are you dreaming of this Christmas? It's funny how our dreams creep into the reality of what Christmas actually is, isn't there? There are these dreams, whether they're excitement and hopes or longing and remembering, and then there's reality. There's the reality, perhaps, of the frantic running around, or the reality of the empty living room, the reality of not enough money and too much food, and, whatever it is, the reality. It's funny how our dreams mingle into the reality. There was a lot of dreams in the original Christmas story. When Joseph found out that Mary was pregnant, he decided to break off the engagement quietly. But then he went to sleep and had a dream, a real dream. An angel came to him in the dream and told him that Mary was pregnant by the Holy Spirit, that this was the Messiah, the one who is to come, and that Joseph should not be afraid, that Joseph should marry Mary. They needed Joseph to marry Mary. And amazingly, when Joseph woke up, he didn't blame the dream on the chili dog he'd had the night before. He didn't brush it away and say, "Boy, that was a crazy dream." He listened to the dream. And he changed his tack as a result. I'm guessing that wasn't the life that Joseph had imagined or dreamed about. you need to notice and remember that the angel's dream was not the most convenient dream out there. The dream changes everything and creates a lot of headaches. But in spite of the rumors, and you know they would have been rife and going all around, Joseph marries her. And Joseph keeps on dreaming. Later on, after the baby is born, just when they've gotten used to that crazy new normal, the crazy new normal of being parents of a tiny, fragile, and probably demanding little baby boy, just when they'd started to settle into the new normal, just when Joseph probably was dreaming and thinking about getting back home. After all, Mary was strong enough and the baby strong enough now to travel. Just when they were planning to get back to that dream that he had of a simple life, him as a carpenter, Mary with the children at home, another dream comes to Joseph, and God tells Joseph to get up and to flee in the night because Herod is coming to kill the child. And again, Joseph wakes up, listens to the dream, and takes Mary and the baby by night to Egypt as refugees. Once again, I don't think that was in Joseph's plan, but God's dream broke into Joseph's reality, and he listened and obeyed. And in one more dream, years later, it was another dream that had Joseph bring Mary and the baby back to Israel, back to this time to Galilee. It was another dream that told him that it was safe to return. It's not the first time that God speaks through dreams. Dreams are important all through the scriptures. Way back in the Old Testament, you might remember Jacob fell asleep with a rock for a pillow. That might have been his first mistake, not a chili dog, but sleeping with a rock for a pillow. And he dreamt of a ladder going up to heaven and angels ascending and descending the ladder. And he hears in the dream God say, "Know that I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land." And when Joseph woke up, again, he believes the dream, and he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he names the place Bethel. Beth meaning house, El meaning God. Bethel, house of God. Incidentally, Bethlehem means house of bread. Beth and Lehem is bread. Jacob's son Joseph, you know, was a big dreamer. Remember, he had the dream that the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to him. And that turned out to be true, though it took a while. King Solomon, remember when he got the gift of wisdom? It was in a dream. He fell asleep, and God asked him, "What should I give to you?" And he asked for wisdom. God speaks to his people in many ways, but dreams are a significant way in which God speaks. Still today. I'm dreaming of a blank Christmas. What are you dreaming of this Christmas? What are your longings and your dreams? They matter. They're part of who we are. They're part of what makes us human. Inside those longings and dreams, there might be pain, because the glittering lights of Christmas often shine on the parts that aren't perfect in our lives. They shine on the places that hurt. They shine on the places that show us what is missing in our lives. And God knows that. God knows your hurt and your pain. He knows where you feel weak. He knows your grief. He knows you. And that's part of the reason, well, really, it's the main reason that God sent his son Jesus, so that we might have a relationship, so that we might have that wholeness that only God can provide, that none of the tinsel and the lights and the presents and even relationships can provide, to the same way that a relationship with God can fill that hole and fill that emptiness and that longing. Inside those longings and those dreams are likely also a calling, a purpose for your life, something that you are called to do. So hold on to whatever it is you are dreaming of or longing for this Christmas. How would God sing that song to you? I'm dreaming of a blank Christmas. How would God fill in the blank for you? What kind of Christmas does God long for you? God's dream interrupted Joseph's plans and dreams. Joseph was a man of faith. He believed, and so when God spoke, he was willing to lay down his hopes and dreams for God's hopes and dreams. Joseph knew that however much he wanted his hopes and plans, again, I imagine maybe a hope and plan for a simple life, Joseph knew that God's dreams were bigger and better, and he trusted. He trusted to follow God through that. We don't know anything about Joseph after the birth narrative of Jesus, but we do know how necessary he was. Had Joseph not heard that dream and acted, it is hard to imagine that Mary and the child would have made it, would have survived. In that day and age, they needed Joseph as the protector. They needed him to give him a name, to give him that protection, that support, that provision. So we thank God that Joseph heard the dream, that he laid down his dream for a chance to protect the Prince of Peace. God still speaks in dreams. In fact, it's kind of neat. Lately, my prayer life has been deepened because I've been using my dreams to sort of pray into. Sometimes I'll get a dream, and in the morning, I will write out the dream and sort of pray into it. Because often our dreams are kind of, they shine a light on what is going on in your life, what you're worried about, what you want to do, and God speaks through them. Now, our dreams are rarely sort of direct, the way that Joseph got a dream and said, Mary is pregnant, come and, they're rarely like that, right? They're kind of crazy, symbolic. I wasn't going to, this morning on the way in, I was thinking, well, what did I dream last night? It was one of these chili dog type of dreams. In fact, Kathy, you were in it. We were driving around looking for this country western concert, and I didn't really know where I was going, but Kathy knew where she was going. And when we got there, I didn't know anything about country western music and how you were supposed to be in this country western space, but Kathy was like, she knew what she was doing. In fact, at one point, I think you were the country western singer. Either that or you knew the country western singer really well, like you were in, right? And I didn't know what to do, and all these people, like I noticed there was a certain dress code that you had to cut off your cowboy boots, and that everybody had pink socks under the cowboy boots. Anyway, so it was a little bit wild, and so I often will take those dreams, and I didn't majorly have time to do that this morning, but I will go through an interpretation with it. But as I was driving, I thought, oh, Kim, you can do it. You can figure it out. So what you do is you do a brief summary of the dream, which I just did, and the next thing is, what's the main action in the dream? And the main action is me following into a place, a territory that I didn't really know anything about. But I was following somebody who did. That was the sort of the main action of the dream. And then the next thing is, what's the main emotion of the dream? What's your emotion in the dream? And the main emotion for me was kind of a trusting, not knowing what's going on, but I was okay with it. I was open and just sort of trusting that I had a good guide in this new place. And then the setting. Now, the setting is what's going on in the real world, like in your waking world, that would sort of feed into it. And for me, there's sort of two things going on. One is that for the last year and a half, I've felt like I'm in a new territory. God has been sort of deepening my faith, because I just have this sense that without deepening my faith, I'm not going to make it, and we're not going to make it as a congregation. So God's been taking me deeper and deeper. So I often have dreams where I feel like I'm in a new place and that God is leading me. And so it's kind of cool, because you, Kathy, were probably in the real life setting. Kathy actually said a prayer for me yesterday because I was feeling a little bit low. You were here for whatever, the market and the Christmas pageanty thing. And I get a little bit seasonal affective, I think, a little bit sort of down, at Christmas. I think it's a common thing, and Kathy picked up on it. She said, "What? We're going to pray for you." So, as Kathy did, she marched me into the office to say a prayer. So I think that's part of the setting, right? Why Kathy was in the dream and she was leading me, but also I was in this new place, and so that was kind of cool. But then then the sort of the bringing it together, the real life and the crazy dream, it was kind of neat, because I walked in, I'm like, well, what's with the cowboy boots and the pink socks? And I walk in, and I see the candle of joy that's pink. And I go, I don't quite get the cowboy boots yet. Maybe that'll come to me. But it's in cutting off the toe of the cowboy boot. But I feel like God is saying to me, trust me. Trust me, and I will bring you joy, right? It doesn't totally make sense, but I will bring you into a place of fun and joy, real joy, in the midst of all of the unknowing that's around. So that actually wasn't even the dream I was going to tell you, but somehow as I came in, I think we'll leave it there. God still speaks to us in dreams. Mostly the dreams are symbolic, not direct language, but he speaks to us, and we need to learn how to hear God's voice, how to tune into God's presence in so many different ways. And we need to have the faith to act on them, to trust that God is with us in whatever place and space we find ourselves in this Christmas, whatever our reality is, that God is there to bring us his dreams, to bring us to wholeness, to healing, life, hope, peace, joy, and love. And I think as we do that, as we pick up God's dream, that's when we experience the true wonder of the season, the true wonder of a tiny Christ child born for us this day. We're now going to have a chance to light a candle. I think each of you was given a candle on the way in. If you weren't, you might put up a hand, and perhaps an usher can bring one to you, because I don't have extras at the front.